Español 2. Verbos con cambios. Many verbs in Spanish have spelling changes that affect the stem of the verb. The stem is the part of the verb before you take off the AR, ER, or IR ending. So the stem is the verb minus the ending, which means minus the AR, the ER, or the IR. These verbs use the regular verb endings, so you don't have to worry about any changes in endings. But it's important to know the rules for the spelling changes so that you can use these verbs properly and also so that you can understand them when other people use them. Some verbs change from E to IE in certain forms. Some of these verbs include comenzar, which means to begin. I'll write that down for you. So comenzar, to begin. Empezar also means to begin. So two different verbs that you can use to mean to begin or to start. Pensar means to think. You have probably seen this or used this. Yo pienso. This is the verb that comes from. Perder, to lose. Preferir, to prefer. Querer, to want. This is where yo quiero comes from. So let's talk about how to use these verbs. So comenzar is one of these verbs where the E, here's the E, changes to IE. Remember that we're only worried about the stem. So the first thing you do when you want to use a verb in the present tense, a regular verb in the present tense, is you take off the ending. So we're not going to worry about the AR. And then you are looking at the E. And this E is going to change to IE, but only sometimes. So these forms that are marked in green, that is where you are going to see the change from E to IE. So here is what the chart looks like. Comienzo. So again, this E is changing to IE in the yo form. Tú comienzas. Él, ella, usted comienza. Now, the nosotros, nosotras, nosotres does not change. And the vosotres also does not change. So these have no change. They work exactly like every other AR verb. The ellos and ustedes forms do change. Comienzan. Okay, there's that IE again. Now, notice the endings did not change at all. We are still using the endings that we would use for AR verbs. Sometimes there is more than one E in the stem. For example, preferir, okay? You take off the IR ending, you still have two E's left. The change always happens in the very last E. So the yo form in preferir would be prefiero. Okay, prefiero. You're changing the last E before the end of the stem. Also notice preferir is an IR verb, so you need to make sure that you are using the IR endings if you are doing preferir. Some verbs change from E to I in those forms. It's always the same forms that change. Some of these verbs include conseguir. Conseguir means to get. Conseguir. The yo form there is consigo. There's no U in the yo form. Decir also has a funky yo form. The yo digo means to say or to tell. Pedir means to ask for or request. Pedir is the one we are going to use for an example. So again, remember the nosotros, nosotres, and vosotros forms do not change, but the yo form does. So we take off the IR, there's the E, that's going to change to I. Yo pido, tú pides, él, ella, usted pide, ellos, ustedes piden. So this time we have IR endings. We have an IR verb, so we are using IR endings. Our last type of change is verbs that change from O to UE. Some of those verbs are dormir, to sleep, jugar, to play, poder, to be able to. This is the one we use when we want to say I can, yo puedo. Volver, to return. So volver is our example. So again, nosotros, vosotros, no change. It works like usual. But for the others, we are going to take this O and change it to UE. And it's an ER verb, so we are using ER endings, as you can see in the nosotros and vosotros forms. Yo vuelvo, there it is, that O to UE. Tú vuelves. Él, ella, usted vuelve. Ellos, ustedes vuelven. Jugar follows the same rules, but obviously there's no O, so it is the U that changes to UE, and that is why when you say I play, you say juego, but when you say we play, you say jugamos, because the nosotros and vosotros don't change. So that is our 3 types of stem changing verbs, and you should practice a little bit if you need to.